welcome to City Week, ladies and gentlemen. Today I have the pleasure of being joined by our very own Fire Chief, Chief John Brant. Chief Brant, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Alton. I appreciate it. Glad to be here.
Well, it's a pleasure to sit down with you, John. And again, I just want to say congratulations to becoming our Fire Chief here for the City of LaGrange. I know we had you on back in November. We were talking about it, but now you're the official Chief for the City of LaGrange. I just want to, if you don't mind, just start about, tell us a little bit about yourself and tell me how has it been thus far.
Okay. Like I said, I've been here at LaGrange Fire Department my whole fire department career, a little over 23 years now. I've been in a leadership role since 2002. I've served in every capacity throughout the fire department. I did skip the driver rank, so I didn't do that. But I've served in training and like I said, all through the ranks on the trucks as far as lieutenants, captains, and deputy chiefs. And fortunate enough, back in end of November, to get promoted to fire chief. Very exciting time for myself, for the department, and we've been moving forward since then. Luckily I took over a department I was part of, but that was in great shape. Okay. And so we've just been kind of building on what we've established over these last decade, and the guys the folks at the fire department are really excited about what we're doing, moving forward, and they're buying into what we're doing. Very good. So yeah, we've got a great group of folks down there at the fire department that believe in community service and taking care of the people of LaGrange. And so when you have that, you have a good nucleus of folks and a good base of a good foundation. It makes things a lot easier as a fire chief. Absolutely.
And you're talking about, listening, you say you've gone through the ranks, and I always like to think how I've come up through the ranks as well. And you've been with the city for such a long time, and people get to know you. You get to know how things operate, and you kind of have your own little take on things and see things that you would perhaps tweak. But all that being said, I know that you do what you do, John, and you don't do it alone. You have some deputy fire chiefs that assist you. Talk about those gentlemen, and also go ahead and mention who they are, if you don't mind.
I do want to mention there's the Deputy Chief Willie Bradfield, Deputy Chief Philip Rice, Deputy Chief Chad Dallas. They're my command staff, and they do an excellent job. They're leaders, great leaders. They're great managers, and they do a good job. They're well respected. They have fully supported me during this transition, and I couldn't thank them enough. They've just gone above and beyond kind of what I've asked of them, and they've been over backwards for me, and they love their folks that work for them, and they take care of those guys and ladies, and so yeah, I'm just extremely proud of those guys for what they've done for the department, and I know the firefighters appreciate them too, because they're just a special people.
Absolutely. And you're talking about that because leadership is so important. And before we came on, we were talking about leadership versus management. Talk about how you now have transitioned from one role to the other, and how that has played into helping you to be the person that you are today.
Well, I got to say this, and then I stole it from so many people, but I believe you manage a situation, but you lead people.
That's right.
And I'm a firm believer in John A. Maxwell's work, and he talks about the 5 levels of leadership. And it's about building an environment that people can grow and develop. And before you do that, as leaders, is you've got to build relationships, and you got to build trust with people. And then along the lines, you got to become productive. And then you start developing people, all around. That's right. And then you start developing leaders. And when you do that, in a lot of organizations, I've heard people say, and even in the fire department at certain times, where 20% of the people do 80% of the work, or 100% of the work, right? That's right. Well, when you start doing those 5 levels of leadership, and you start building those people, and then you start developing leaders, then you start spreading that workload out. That's right. And if you can get an organization operating at 80% of the people doing 100% of the work, well, you've got something special there, right? You do, absolutely. And so, that's kind of what we're trying to get our folks to buy into, and they're doing an outstanding job at that. And one thing that I you know, that when I talk to folks, and I'm meeting with every individual at the fire department, one-on-one. It's taking me a little longer than I thought because you know, busy. But
That's right.
you know, when I talk about leaders, the first thing that comes to their mind is lieutenants or deputy chiefs, right? Well, I want them to say, hey, when he talks about leaders, he's talking about every person in this fire department can be a leader, no matter what their rank on.
That's right.
They may not be a manager, but they can be a leader.
That's right.
And they can lead people in their rank.
Absolutely.
So that's one of the things I'm really trying to push and or encourage. I don't want to use push, but in my chief officer development class, we have a group of lieutenants that want to move up in rank, and that's what we're really focusing on.
Absolutely. It's so important because, you know, again, I always go back to my tenure with the city of LaGrange. Started out in the police department years ago and just kind of rose up through the ranks. And, you know, and when I left the police department, I was a sergeant. Okay. But again, I think you're so right. Everybody can be that leader, and you manage situation, and those leaders are developed by how they manage situation, which helps them when they're in that leadership role. That's right. So, you know, even in my, you know, task right now with things that I do, you know, having the various departments under my, you know, oversight and everything, I think it's so important that, as you talked about, forming those relationships with people and having the trust and the respect of individuals there. And John, you know, I know that you guys have a lot of things going on. I want to just mention, talk about right now, because we have strategically placed fire stations around the city for better coverage. Talk about those stations, where they're located and why they're located in the areas that they're located. Okay.
Currently, we have our headquarters, and we call it our administration building, and that's on 115 Hill Street. Okay. And we don't respond out of that. We have our staff folks there. We do come there for training, so we will have trucks responding from that, but there's no apparatuses there that respond out of that station. Station 1 is on South Davis Road. Station 2 is on Airtron Parkway, right there by the airport, and Station 3 is on Hogansville Road. And Station 4 is off Midbridge Road. And like I said, they're put there for a reason. You know, we want to have the best response time that we can to help the folks in, you know, that are in need. And so that's what we look at when we start building these stations. And when we start looking at area for Station 5, we're looking at areas over there at the end of Cameron Mill Road, Country Club Road, Willow Crest, and all that. And we felt like they needed, you know, a quicker response. Okay. To take care of those folks when they have, you know, a time of need. So we're building Station 5 on Vernon Street. Okay. Vernon Road. On Vernon Road. That's right.
Then talk about, John, how that relates, the location of our fire station, how that kind of goes hand in hand with our ISO rating, which means insurance service organization rating. Right. So people understand. Yeah. Talk about the correlationship between the location of stations and our ISO rating.
Okay, so according to ISO, a station, any parcel with a structure on it, okay, it has to be within 5 miles, road miles of a fire station. Okay. And so there was those areas I just spoke about on Willow Crest and all that stuff were outside that 5 mile radius. Okay. So we need to put a fire station out there where we put Station 5. So that will bring those folks inside that 5 mile radius. Okay. So all these stations have been placed to get the people the best ISO rating that we can get. You know, when you talk about ISO, now they look at everything. They look at our water supply, they look at our 911 system, they look at our fire department, and inside the fire department they look at training, they look at prevention, they look at inspections, they look at the response times. I mean, you name it, they look at it. Yes. I mean, they even look at how long it takes from a 911 dispatcher to pick up the phone to the time they send somebody out to the fire department. Oh my. Yeah. So they look at everything, and you know, we have a great 911 system that service that you know, that are working diligently to lower that number, and that would help us tremendously. And Jason Lawson, he took over 911 director a couple years ago now, I think. And he's a great guy and a great leader down there for them. Absolutely. So he's doing a good job. Absolutely.
Yeah, and John, as you talk about our ISO rating, talk about what our rating is currently and how that impacts homeowners in our community.
Okay, when I came to work here, we were ISO 3,
Okay.
and we stayed that way for a little while. But then we back in 2002 we got an ISO 2,
Okay.
and we've been an ISO 2 for ever since. And we're working on that now to make sure we keep that ISO 2. It is extremely difficult, but we're doing everything at the fire department. Encouraging, 911 is doing everything they can do. The water department and the city is doing everything they can do to make sure that the citizens we keep the ISO 2 for them. There's a pretty big decrease in insurance ratings between a 3 and a 2.
Okay.
And there's certain milestones in there between a 4 and a 5 or a 5 and a 6, and I can't remember which one is actually the biggest jump, but I know there's a pretty big jump between a 3 and a 2.
Okay. Okay.
And so we want to make sure that we
maintain
do everything we can do to keep it to,
Absolutely, absolutely. And a lot of times when people hear that, they're like, well, it doesn't mean anything, but yeah, it does.
It
does affect you,
right?
right?
Your insurance goes up.
That's right.
It does mean a lot.
Absolutely. And John, you were talking a moment, you mentioned about the new fire station that's going to be built, that is being built on Vernon Road. Can you give us any details about that, where it is in the state? Because I know some people now go the new Vernon Road and may not necessarily go the old Vernon. Can you give us an update on that?
Well, it's wet. How about that?
That's right.
We've had so much rain since they started the station. Those guys they've done a good job of Principal Construction. They've done a good job. They cover it every day with plastic because it's rained so much. But they're pouring the foundation.
Okay.
If everything goes well, Thursday morning.
Thursday morning.
Yes.
You got your fingers crossed.
I got my fingers crossed out.
Okay.
So hopefully they can get that done, and then I think they said that the building, we're starting the building in 2 weeks.
Okay.
I guess that's the cure time for the concrete.
Right.
For 2 weeks, and then so yeah, it's moving along. Best
weather permitting, right?
Yeah, so weather, yeah.
You know what, John? It's so funny. I laugh because of the fact that I think back to when Great Wolf broke ground, and you guys may have gone out and saw it as well. I think it rained almost every day during the construction time.
Yeah. Well, that's what we're doing with it.
That's right. So they have plenty of water out there, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And I like a lot of other development that took place around that time. And we have had some rainy months here, which we're appreciative of because the lake looks nice.
That's right.
But for construction purposes, it doesn't play out too well.
That's right. Yep.
Absolutely. And along with that, John, I know that you all, because training is so important. And I know that most of the firemen personnel cross-train EMTs, EMS, and also firefighters. You all also having a new training facility that is being constructed. Talk about that for us, if you don't mind.
Very excited about that. It's going to be on West Lucan, right past the electric department, and down in the hole down there where the old propane tanks used to be. And it's a 4-story structure made out of Connex containers.
Okay.
And also going to have a rappelling tower beside it. It's going to have a stairwell in it, so we can, practice, advancing hose lines up stairwells as far as that goes. If we had anything in apartment complexes or hospital or anything like that. But the one thing, we're going from our training center now was built our burn building was built in 2000. So it's aged and it's past its life expectancy.
Okay.
And we're going from having 3 burn rooms to 13, maybe even 16, depending on how we configure everything. So, it's going to be a whole lot better training for our folks. And that's the thing that people need to understand is firefighting is a dangerous job, and we were reminded of that Labor Day morning. When our guys got injured, and training is very important, and we got to make sure not only that. We're doing everything so our guys are trained, to the highest level, so they can protect themselves, but also take care of the citizens on LaGrange.
That's right.
And and like you mentioned, the EMS training, we stay on top of that, and all that stuff's mandated from state on the fire side and the EMS side. On the ISO also, they look at our training.
It's your training, right?
And they require, broken down in several different categories, 120 hours a year. The state only requires 24.
Okay.
And, but we're averaging 400 to 500 training hours per person per year.
That's awesome. Man.
So we get after it and we make sure that we want to do our job well. We just don't want to be here and do a mediocre job. We want to do the best job we can do.
Absolutely. Well, anytime that I've come out to any of the stations, John, the personnel have always been the utmost professional involvement in various things, the boot drive, the smoke detector installation, things of that nature. And I feel like we have, as you stated, we have a great team of young men and women that really, take their job serious. And it shows by the training that you just mentioned, 400 hours per person per year. I think that's a lot of training.
It is.
And then I think, it's so important because I know that back in August of last year, John, you all became accredited.
Yes.
Talk a little bit about that if you don't mind.
That was a special moment right there, Al. That was, it was something that we worked hard for about a 6-year period. And, just a lot of people, working hard towards that, working towards a goal, and you hate to say a goal because it's a process that it's a never-ending process. Once you get accredited, you want to stay accredited.
That's right.
And and we got accredited in August, and it was a special time for us. But hey, as soon as we got back, we gave everybody high fives and we went back to work.
Back to work, right?
Get it done again. Because each year you got to do an annual compliance report. Okay. And then you get reaccredited every 5 years. They really don't want to call it reaccredited anymore. You're just getting accredited again. Okay. But yeah, you got to do that every 5 years, and it takes that 5-year period to make sure that you get everything, all your eyes. That's right. And your teeth crossed.
Right.
So yeah, it's.
And then I'm saying that because I remember when the police department became accredited. I sat as a citizen and talked about things there. Is that the same that holds true for the fire department? Will there be stakeholders that will be involved with the
Absolutely. Annually, we have a stakeholders breakfast or lunch, whatever we want to do. Okay. Bring stakeholders in throughout the community, and we want to get their perspective of the fire department too. Okay. We may think we're doing a great job, but we want to see how we're doing from the people in the community, and also what are their expectations of the fire department, and can we meet those expectations? And if we can't, that way we can tell them. And that's one of the goals as fire chief that I set out for myself, is to go out and meet community leaders, meet business owners, meet different folks in the community, and let them know what the community, what the fire department offers, what services we offer, what programs we offer, and what are your expectations. We do surveys and all that stuff, and we send stuff out. We have boot drives. We've actually handed out surveys, and 99% of people say, "Hey, I want you here when I call you." Okay. Yeah. But but the 1% we're looking at that dig a little deeper and say, "Hey, we need this, or we need that, or we need that," and can you meet those expectations? And we want to do everything we can do to meet those.
Absolutely. I think about it a lot of times before I got involved in city government, I perhaps said that same comment. I just need you when I need you.
I need you, no matter what it is.
That's right. Be here. That's right. Well, John, I wanted to, as we get ready to finish up here, I know that, as the fire chief, you got the new stations being built, you got the training center. Opportunity for individuals that may be watching or from the surrounding area to join the LaGrange Fire Department. Yeah. Are there opportunities for people to come and perhaps be employed with the LaGrange Fire Department?
Absolutely. We just hired one gentleman, and we're in the process of hiring 6 now for our new station. And but yes, we encourage people to put in. Out of the 7 people we're one hired and the other 6 were done, we've got one individual in there that's got 2 people that have a fire service background. Okay. So even if you don't have anything and you just have a desire to give back to the community, a desire to serve your community, please come put it in the fire department. Okay. We're looking for just good, wholesome people that want to help their fellow citizen. And that are an organizational fit, and we have our system set up that in our system hires the folks. There's not. I don't make the decision and say, hey, I'm gonna hire this person. Okay. Our process hires people. Okay. But it was based on, the questions are based on what is the organizational fit. If that person the organizational fit, and are they just good folks, and they have the willingness to to give back and to serve their community, and that's what we're looking for. So if that's you, put it in the fire department. 'Cause we need some good folks, and we got good folks, and we want to continue to hire good folks.
Absolutely. John, can they go online, or how can they submit an application, if you don't mind?
They can go to our the City of LaGrange website and go into their either human resources and look for job openings.
Okay.
We always have you can click on the firefighter application there.
Okay.
Or you can go on the fire department page, and there's a place to do that there as well. Okay. And you can print it off, and you can mail it to HR. You can bring it to 115 Hill Street. You can bring it by City Hall. Okay. And all those three things, and we'll get it, and when we have an opening, we'll get you in there, and do an assessment and see if we can hire you.
There you go. I must say this, and because I've been with the City of LaGrange for a number of years, I won't say quite how many, but I'm going to tell you, the City of LaGrange, for me, has been an awesome place to work, to raise my family. Great folks like yourself and the other fire personnel, the police department. I don't want to start naming folks, but it's been a great ride for me as far as being employed with the City of LaGrange. And when you get on with the City of LaGrange, most time people don't want to leave. Just be quite honest.
That's right.
Because it is a great place to live, to work, and to live, and have great people that you work with. And John, I just want to say once again, congratulations. But before I leave, I do want to just mention, because I did see it on Facebook, and Katie did we had one of the officers that would burn on Labor Day return to work. Talk about that a little bit, if you don't mind.
Yeah, Lieutenant Josh Williams, he returned back to work.
That's right.
And last Monday.
That's right.
And it was a special time, and we just wanted to do, as a department, we wanted to do something special for him when he come back to work. And when he come out of his truck, and we was all, everybody wasn't there because people had something scheduled, but we had 30, 40 folks there lined up for him to walk through and give everybody a hug and welcome him back. So it was special for him. He's working light duty 4 hours a day, and I think it's therapeutic for him, but I also think it's therapeutic for the department, because we and I don't want to take anything away from them, because those guys went through a traumatic event, and they'll deal with that for a long time. But the closeness of these folks in public safety, they really care about their fellow workers, and to see those guys go through that, it hurt the fire department. It hurt the heart, and I think it's therapeutic for not only for the guys that return, but also the firefighters and at the fire department, to see those guys come back. I think it's helping them heal as well.
Absolutely. Well, we do want to continue to wish Josh and all the others a very, very speedy recovery. And I know that they have outpouring support from the fire department, police department, and also the citizens of LaGrange.
Oh, absolutely. It's been amazing.
Absolutely. Well, John, I want to thank you very much, and again, congratulations on your new job.
Yes, sir.
And if I can ever do anything to help you, by all means, you know where to find me.
Absolutely. Thanks, sir.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned for more City Week in just a moment.